Thanks for joining us. This is Notepad with me, Ibrahim Sani. I'm sure you've heard of the company Coursera. I myself am a subscriber to some of the courses offered there. Joining us in the studio is Raghav Gupta, the Managing Director for India as well as Asia Pacific of Coursera. Raghav, thanks for taking the time to speak with us. It's such a pleasure talking to somebody from Coursera for the first time in my life. I really enjoy the offerings that are being offered there at Coursera, but of course, Coursera is just one of the many other services that is currently being offered online. A lot of people want to use this to upskill themselves. Many of them are self-driven. Maybe one or two corporates actually instruct their employees to do so. But generally speaking, this is an opt-in kind of mechanism, and I'm very surprised. Before doing this interview, I was asking some of my friends two questions. First, do you know Coursera? Second, are you on it? Nearly everyone knows Coursera. Not many people are on it. So you can see it still is the opportunity for market penetration is there. So, but before we jump to all the other questions, let's walk through with us some of the background that you can share with us regarding Coursera.
Well, thank you for having me. So Coursera, in terms of background, started back in 2012. It started out of Stanford University, and our founders came from Stanford University. Andrew Ng and Daphne Kohler founded Coursera. And the vision was, like you said, to bring high quality education to many, many people around the world. Coursera started out as what is called a MOOCs platform, massive open online courses. And then over the years, of course, Coursera has developed into a much larger platform serving many, many different needs. Like you mentioned, a lot of people come to the platform themselves out of self-motivation to learn. And close to 100 million plus people come to Coursera today from different places around the world. In Asia, there are close to 35 million people who come to Coursera, and in Malaysia, there are close to 500,000 people who come to Coursera to learn. What Coursera has today is many leading universities and companies author content. So there are close to about 175 universities that create content, but also very importantly, companies, companies like Google, companies like IBM, companies like Meta, Facebook. And this trend of industry becoming an educator is probably important to emphasize, because a lot of technology is coming into our day-to-day lives, and so people are spending time learning that. And the last bit is institutions are investing a lot of time and effort in training their stakeholders. So companies, government organizations, and also campuses are now adopting a platform like Coursera. So, companies are training their employees. Universities are saying, look, my students don't need to learn only from within my university, only from my faculty, but, learn from the best in the world. And governments are then saying, look, we need to be getting our citizens ready for the future. And so they are investing. And so close to 7,500 institutions around the world partner with Coursera to bring this education to their stakeholders per se. So that's a quick overview of the platform.
How do you know what is important to be offered and what is in trend or in demand to be offered?
So we have the benefit of a lot of data, and that's giving us a lot of insight, right? When 100 million people come to the Coursera platform, they're giving us a lot of feedback on what is the kind of trends that we are seeing in the world around us. Because we also work with leading universities and companies, we're getting that feedback as well. And so we do a lot of our own analysis using this data, right? So for example, every year we come out with something called the Global Skills Report. And the Global Skills Report says, look, through the pandemic, there's been massive change in what the future might look like. We've seen many job losses. We've seen many jobs getting converted into digital jobs. We've also seen the need for human skills has actually become more important. And how do you work in a hybrid environment? How do you work in an environment where some people are remote? These are some of the emerging skills, right? And then we are able to take this data and make sense out of it and bring insights out of it. I can tell you, for example, here in Malaysia, the #1 course that these 500,000 people are taking is called Data Everywhere from Google. And the reason we are seeing a lot of people take that is just the emergence of the importance of understanding data, and industry, like I said, is becoming an important educator as well. So people are saying, look, I value the credential which comes from a university, but I also value a credential from learning from a company like Google or IBM or somebody like that.
Okay, there's also that whole element of pricing. While service and products is actually extremely crucial, especially for an online service like yourselves, pricing is actually quite critical because not only is this a retail business, the attrition rate and the substitution prospects is actually quite high. It's unbelievable how quick the retail consumer can go on from one service to another. I myself am guilty of that, but that's the power that we have given to the consumers outright. So how do you, number one, maintain that high level of service, but number two, try to make money out of this as well? What's the pricing strategy like?
Yeah, so we're serving different needs, right? We're serving needs of different learners. So on our B2C platform, on our retail platform, many people come to Coursera for the first time, right? So there is the option to come and try it for free before you pay, right? You can come and audit a course, watch a few videos for free, go ahead and do that. And then if you like what you see, then you can come in and make a payment, take the assessments, take the certification as well. So that's the approach there. And then different markets, different countries have different abilities to pay. So the pricing in a mature market in a developed country might be different from a developing country. So we do that on the retail side. And also it's important to call out, Coursera started out with MOOC courses, which are these 10, 15-hour courses. But today there are many different learning products, right? I'm here with you, I think about a particular topic, I can go to Coursera and watch a 10-minute clip and learn something within 10 minutes. So short form learning is available. And then I can take a 10, 12-hour course and build my skills in data or digital or whatever. But I might also be, a young person who says, look, I've done my undergrad, now let me go and do a master's. And today you can do a master's on Coursera in digital marketing or an MBA or something like that. So these are different learning products serving different needs of people. And then there is pricing to be able to support that on the retail side. And then there's pricing on the institutional side when we work with a company or when we work with a campus. We work with a telecom company here, Axiata in Malaysia, and they're investing a lot in data science of their people. And then we also work with an open university like Wawasan University here in Malaysia, and it's an open university, people from all backgrounds come to them, and then that pricing is tailored to their ability to pay and derive value from that. So that's how we think about pricing overall.
There's also that issue of status and significance and most importantly recognition. How do you manage that whole notion that if you get a master's from Coursera, it might be slightly seen as not the same as getting a master's from a regular university? How do you manage that?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? And firstly, it's important to call out the master still comes from the university, right? So I could be a person who gets to go to Michigan University on campus, or I get to go to Michigan University online, but it's the same university, it's the same faculty member who's teaching the on-campus and the online class. In the case of the online class, it's coming via the Coursera platform. We are the platform that is enabling that to happen. And these are possibly two different audiences that we are serving, right? I might be somebody who lives in the US, goes to campus, spends $100,000 over 2 years. Or I might be a person here in Malaysia or somewhere in the region, and I might say, look, I'm a mid-career professional. I've worked for 5-6 years. I'd love to get a online degree from a top quality university. I don't want to move from my city. I don't want to shift countries and so on. And I want an affordable price. And this individual can then say, okay, I will come and do that online degree. So it's serving these different purposes. It's coming from the same institution. And while you're here, it helps you progress in your career, and it's serving those two objectives. So to my mind, that's a good way to kind of be thinking about it.
Okay, we'll go for one short break before we continue on our conversation with Raghav of Coursera. We'll be right back after these messages. Thanks for staying on with us. I have with me Raghav Gupta, the boss of India as well as Asia Pacific of Coursera. Raghav, let's talk a little bit more about Coursera for Business, or C4B as you call it. What's it all about?
Yeah, so one thing that we've seen, and this is not surprising at all of us have grown up learning in institutions. We went to school, we were in an institution, we went to college or university, we were in an institution. So at Coursera, we are very clear that while a lot of learning can happen as an individual, a lot of really impactful learning happens as an institution. Secondly, it was happening before the pandemic, but the pandemic accelerated it. that the world of work was changing. Automation was coming in, digital was coming in, data was coming in, and the pandemic accelerated all of that. And so companies have realized that, look, we need to not wait for our people to go and learn these new skills, but we need to actively work with our people and guide them, motivate them, inspire them to learn. And Coursera for Business was born out of that idea. It was born about 5 years ago, where we said, look, many companies are playing an active role in the skilling of their people. The kind of jobs that they need these people to be ready for have been changing. And so Coursera for Business, what we do is we go and partner with companies, especially those companies whose businesses are changing. You think about banks and financial services and telecom companies and technology companies and tech services companies and so on and so forth. And these are the institutions where the business is changing very rapidly. And we'll sit down and say, look, what is your skills profile of your employees going to look like in 3 years' time from today? And how do we then build a custom program for you to then take your team on a journey to be able to do that? And that's what Coursera for Business is serving.
Okay, in Malaysia, the Malaysian context, we're trying to understand a little bit better about how Malaysia is able to build a national service, digital nation, and to future-proof the human capital that we have right now. We need to address the mismatch in the job market to meet the expectations of 500,000 jobs by 2025 that requires to be digitally savvy. There's also over 3,000 companies that provide this kind of access or training to the people that want the job. So do you see Coursera as the matchmaker between businesses who need talent and talent who need to be upskilling themselves to meet this kind of demand?
Absolutely, and that's the reason I'm here as well, right? We met, one of the industries I mentioned is the banking and financial services industry, for example, in all of these digital jobs. And yesterday, I was fortunate, we met with about 7-8 leading banks in the country, and they're saying, look, digital is coming, we need to attract a lot of people to come into these jobs, but we're also competing with so many other companies who are also attracting these young people who have digital skills. And companies are also saying there's a lot of disruption happening, there's a lot of change happening. Digital banks are coming in Malaysia now that digital banking licenses have been given out. And then companies are saying, look, we have existing people who are very willing, sometimes need the guidance to be able to skill up as well. And so we are investing here in the country. We are, bringing a team together. We are serving many more companies here. And the intent is absolutely that. As a part of the government's My Digital initiative, how do we come in and contribute and build on this, large audience of people who are already coming to Coursera in their personal capacity?
This whole Coursera's skills dashboard in level sets, this is how you can help the individual track their movement or track their ability to learn more or provide their deficiency areas. Do you feel that this kind of dashboard helps people to keep motivated? What's the psychological aspect of having these kind of dashboards?
So there was a point in time a few years ago where we would say, look, we'll make great content available, and this great content could be courses, these could be hands-on projects, and so on and so forth. And what we've done very recently as a part of innovation is we've said working professionals want to be able to take an assessment to say, okay, I want to learn a digital skill. Let me assess myself and say, what am I good at, what am I not so good at? And that's what we call a level set. And once you've taken a level set, we'll also show you a skill set to say, look, if you want to become a data analyst, these are the 6 skills that you should learn, and this is the proficiency level that you should gain on those skill sets. And in a sense, it's an A to B journey, right? A level set tells you you're at A, and a skill set tells you you need to get to B. And then after that, the AI in our platform will curate the right content for you so that the content is not too easy, not too hard, it's just the right kind of content. And very simply, one of the things that motivates people to be able to learn is to get the right content. It's as simple as that. And there are 10,000 pieces of content on our platform, but how do we show that individual those right 5 pieces of content? And level sets, skill sets, and we built these academies, and there's an academy on data science, there's an academy on technology, there's an academy on leadership. Human skills are extremely important, and that's what we are taking out as a part of innovation. I shared these with all these leading banks that we met yesterday, and they see a lot of value in that, and I'm hoping we will roll that out to a lot of companies here in the country.
You touched on a very important point. There's too many, to be frank, of content and courses. one would be more relevant to me than the other, and likewise it would be more relevant to another person compared to him or her, what is relevant to me. The selection of AI is actually quite important. So back to my earlier question, what motivates the person on choosing the right courses to keep them going on motivated? And the second is, what is the process that is put in place to allow for the selection of your AI processes, the algorithm that is put in place to allow for the better selection of relevancy towards these learners?
Yeah. So let's build on Coursera for Business for a moment, right? You're in a bank, the bank is telling you, look, you're a business analyst, we'd love for you to become a data analyst. And then there are various ways to now keep this person motivated, right? Firstly, in most companies, a person will be motivated to do something if it is aligned with the business agenda of the company. So if the CEO of the organization is saying, guys, we're becoming digital, let's spend time learning some of these digital skills, it's a great starting point. Second, we spoke about level sets, skill sets, and some of these product features which are important. That helps a lot as well. Thirdly, I mentioned earlier, institutional learning is extremely important. If I'm, with 10 people who are also on this journey from being a business analyst to a data analyst, then we can meet in the real world, we can talk about our experiences, we can compare notes. So companies are facilitating some of these in-person sessions where people come together. And then lastly, very simply celebrating success, just the human psychology of saying, look, I did something, now let's celebrate some of that achievement. All of this together then comes and says, look, let's drive this learning to happen. So we're seeing a lot of that happening. On your other question about how does the AI and the machine learning algorithm work, that's largely data on our platform, which is constantly training the machine learning algorithm. 100 million people taking, millions of courses each year. I can, come out with data which says, look, the best data analysts in the world take these 6 courses, or the best digital marketer in the world takes these 5 courses. And it's essentially just the machine being trained on that.
Okay, we'll go for one short break. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more with Coursera. Thanks for staying on with us. This is Notepad. You're watching it with me, Ibrahim Sani. I have with me the boss of Asia Pacific and India of Coursera. Raghav, let's talk a little bit more about the whole notion of Women and Skills Report 2021. This is because in the report, 44% of women learners in Malaysia access Coursera on mobile devices compared to 41% of men, which has helped grow women participation in online learning. But it's not just about women or men percentages on accessing Coursera on mobile devices. I want to learn more about the whole notion of studying it online versus on mobile devices as opposed to the traditional way of doing things. Do you feel that mobile devices is one thing, mobile phones is yet another, because there's always an iPad?
Yeah.
What is the notion or the style of learning moving forward, especially when we talk about Coursera's diverse student demography, so to speak? You have university students trying to upskill themselves, people like me midway throughout the career, my parents who are retirees and they just want to learn something new. What's the delivery system like, the delivery channel, so to speak?
Yeah, and I'll just quickly touch on the first point that you mentioned, Ibrahim. So we've seen, if I just broadly say developed countries and developing countries, in developing nations, right? A lot of people come to learn on a mobile device because they use that more than they might use a laptop or a computer. Traditionally, we've seen more men, lesser women learning on the platform pre-pandemic. We've also seen more, men taking STEM courses, so science, technology, engineering, and maths, and lesser women. But through the pandemic, we've seen a lot more women coming to the platform, a lot of usage on the mobile device, and then a lot of STEM courses being learned by women as well, which is, I think, a great positive sign, right? Women participation in the digital workforce is extremely important. We're very conscious that people come with different learning styles, right? So what we've done in terms of our product is made all of this possible. If I'm somebody who's happier learning on a mobile device because that's what I'm, able to access, but if I don't have network available all the time, we've made it possible to, just download the content onto your app and you can take it while you're computing, while you're commuting, you don't have access to network so that you can learn it. Out of the many courses available on Coursera, 95% of the content is accessible on a mobile device unless you're doing some assignments on programming or coding and so on, you don't necessarily need a laptop. And then people have different learning habits. You might say, look, I will take a 10-minute video during my commute, and then I might be somebody who prefers to sit down in the evening or at night and spend 2 hours, 3 hours in a focused manner of time. All of that is feasible, all of that is possible. Our teaching and learning team is constantly researching and saying, look, all of us have grown up learning in a classroom, but now this is the age where all of us are learning online, we are learning digitally, and how do we transition to this ability to learn digitally in an engaging manner and with a valuable credential at the end of it. So the intent is cater to different learning styles so that people can just personalize this for themselves.
What about social media? Have you thought about that? TikTok, short version videos and so on?
Well, we do have something that we call Clips, which was released about 2 months ago. In fact, we announced it 2 months ago, and it's releasing later this month. And some of these videos are available, 10-minute videos that are available that one can watch. So these are short videos. Again, the intent is micro-learning or learning in the flow of work. I've heard this story repeated many times. I'm working with a Excel model, I've forgotten how to do a pivot table. I can come to Coursera, watch a 10-minute video and come back.
Exactly. People are not learning this for the first time. They learned it 10 years ago. They haven't done the thing again. So, just a quick one.
Exactly. And this is what we're catering to now as well. This is something that recently that we've launched.
Even I forgot how to do a pivot table. I was in a business intelligence unit in a bank, and it was pivot tables all the way. If you ask me through it now, don't know.
So this might be a good time to go to Coursera.
But that's the point. There's always substitutes, all right? When we started off this conversation, I'm not going to name your competitors, but of course, even within the non-online learning space, we're talking about YouTube as the simplest form of substitute for many things, right? I mean, I can just Google pivot table Excel on YouTube. Boom, I get the answer. So what's the mechanism to retain your folks inside your ecosystem instead of going to all these other places?
See, a large number of people come to Coursera. 100 million is a very large number of people. And the reason they come to Coursera is firstly, they're looking for high quality content. Because this content on Coursera has come from a top university, it's come from a leading company, they're looking for that assurance that this is high quality content. Second, the learning experience itself is designed in a manner which can engage you. If I were to watch a 1-hour classroom online, it'll probably put me to sleep, right? So how do we make it engaging? And the third thing that we see which matters really is the credential, right? If I'm going to learn different skills, put them on my resume, and then go out and progress my career, possibly get a new job or grow in my existing job, I want a meaningful credential which comes from a top university or even a top company. And going back to my comment earlier of industry becoming an educator, so learning from companies is also important. And that's why we see high quality content relevant to my career aspirations and the value of a highly recognizable credential as well.
Okay, speed round, Raghav. What are some popular courses among Malaysian workers?
The number one is called Data Everywhere, and it comes from Google. But one of the very popular courses, and this is in the top 10, is the Science of Well-being from Yale University. So it's a bit of a combination of data and also just personal well-being as well.
Still on the speed round, is this like the same elsewhere, or Malaysia has a unique thing going on?
So this particular course is unique, but Science of Well-being happens elsewhere as well. A course like Learning How to Learn just very fundamentally happens in other countries as well. So there are some differences, some commonalities.
What about some skills and employment trends you observe for Malaysia?
A lot of digital, given just the push and the focus in the market. A lot of language learning as well. We see a lot of folks coming to Coursera to learn the Korean language, for example. So a lot of language learning as well.
What would be some ideas that you can share with us to build an agile culture for lifelong learners?
I think going at this through institutions is very helpful. The example that I took about companies adopting this, about campuses adopting this, about governments adopting this as well. I think that's a great path to building this whole culture of learning.
If you are a 24-year-old university student, a girl that is interested in online social media, data management, technopreneur, what would be the 2 or 3 things that you would advise this university student to go after?
So for university students, we've recently launched something called the Career Academy. In the Career Academy, there is a career path called Social Media Marketeer. And in that, you can actually come and learn from Meta, Facebook on how to become a great social media marketer. And then also do a few projects on using tools like Canva and others which are used for social media marketing. I would recommend come and take that.
What would be the next step in terms of social media marketing? How would this university student go beyond that and be a data scientist?
So this opportunity to shift or pivot to a different career is also available. And what we also have on Coursera as a part of Career Academy is a career path to become a data analyst or even a data scientist. And the data analyst path has certifications from Google, from IBM, and then a few hands-on projects where you can build a portfolio of saying, look, I did a certificate and then did a hands-on project as well. So come and take the data analyst career path in that case.
Final question for the speed round. Why is it so expensive?
It's not expensive at all. It's priced for the market. It's if you
For a
come to the
university
B2C
student, I'm pretty
platform.
sure it is, right?
So in the case of a university student, we make a lot of content available to audit for free. And in many cases, universities are now partnering with Coursera and saying, look, as a part of what students learn, we will make this available to students. And so for the students, it actually comes at no cost in many cases. That's what BSc is doing here in Malaysia, where they're saying, look, we'll invest in this for you. So that works quite well.
This has been a pleasurable conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Because number one, I like the product. I mean, if I'm interviewing somebody from, I don't know, 1MDB or something like that, I'll be very upset. But the Coursera is a product that I actually love. And I would love to dedicate more time on it. However, work beckons, I suppose.
I can imagine, but maybe taking a look at clips when you're commuting
this is my first time
might be
hearing
the
this.
thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that might be something. You may or may not be using pivot tables, but maybe it's a good refresher.
No longer, I'm doing this.
But there are topics related to what you do today which may be
camera work or something like that. But that was a good conversation that we've just had with Raghav Gupta, the Managing Director of India as well as Asia Pacific of Coursera. If you've missed any part of this interview, just head on to astroawani.com. Type out Coursera or Notepad. Some of this interview will be repurposed for social media as well. Do check out online on all our social media sites at 501 Awani, also on my own site at Ibrahim Sani, as well as LinkedIn. That's another thing that we need to talk about, putting stuff on LinkedIn. Anyway, Raghav, thanks very much for coming on the show for us with us. It's been quite a hike, right? You came from India.
I'm here in the region this week as well as next week. So I'm here for a bit.
Okay, you can find him and hunt him down for free Coursera prices courses. Okay, until then, thanks very much for watching and goodbye.